mean to do what you're supposed to do. In fact, most of the time you know what it is, but something always holds you back. What is it, and how should you get past that? It's a lesson from my own life and our question today. This show is generously provided for by viewers like you. Thank you. Head on over to patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff. That's patreon.com/PaulAllencliff. And you can support the show for as little as $1 a month or even more. Every little bit helps, and every bit helps me change eternity. So thank you. Also, this show is generously provided for by my latest book, Church Video School. If you're curious how to use video in your church or ministry, Church Video School provides all the answers. It's 90 short lessons that you can read at your own pace to just get a familiarity with all the ins and outs of video. I've been doing video professionally since 2000, and these are all my thoughts, everything that I could think of that might help you to use video. And it's only $14.97 through the end of the month, which is quickly approaching. So if this is before September 1st, 2014, you want to go over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/CVS, short for Church Video School, and pick up your copy and save $5. So, here's the situation. For years, I've had something that held me back. Now, I'm not totally sure the genesis of it. I know that I like people. I know that when I'm in a group that I feel comfortable with, I'm like the life of the party. I have no problem telling jokes, interacting with people, just really enjoying the situation. But I also know that for some reason I cannot introduce myself to people. See how that's odd? Now, I think that it started sometime in elementary school because my 7-year-old daughter has a similar personality to my mother and to her mother, and she hasn't yet met a stranger. She just sees someone and says, "Oh, you're a person, I love you." She just loves people. And that's how I used to be. I remember in kindergarten introducing myself to the other kids and just immediately talking and interacting like we'd been friends forever. I also remember towards the end of elementary school and into middle school feeling like, well, no one wants to talk to me. I better be quiet so that I don't interrupt them. So something changed during that time. A couple of years ago, I did some really good work on getting past that, and I was really starting to make headway until I introduced myself to a woman at my church's recovery ministry. And with my wedding ring on, just being friendly, she said, "I didn't come here to be picked up." First off, she wasn't really my type, but that's okay, that's not her deal. It was her own brokenness that she just assumed that anyone just being nice wanted to have sex with her. I think that's got to be it. That I actually didn't, but it just really broke me that someone would think that that's what I was trying to do, because I wasn't. I was just trying to be friendly. I was just trying to meet people. I was just trying to make them feel comfortable. So I had a major setback. fast forward to this past weekend. What you may not know if you haven't been watching, in fact, this time a week ago, I was setting up for, well, I was on my way to set up for my church's leadership retreat. And that's when something in me changed. Not during the setup, but during the actual retreat. Is I just started to hear things that made sense. Now, I've been consuming podcasts on being friendly, being charming, etc. for a while, because that's who I want to be. I want to be someone that people go, oh yeah, if you need a friend, you head to Paul. That's who I want to be. So I've been consuming that for some time, and I'd heard someone say, you need to have a 3-second rule. And that 3-second rule is, when you want to introduce yourself to someone, within 3 seconds you must do it. Don't hesitate. Don't let your mind talk yourself out of it. Just do it. Because once you get stuck in your head, you will find a reason not to do it, or you will delay just long enough for them to be out of the picture. So, this weekend, I started doing that. I started not hesitating. That's it. Just not hesitating. I started to, when I had an idea, and I knew it wasn't a bad idea, right? So I absolutely need to hesitate when I'm driving and I get this idea, oh, I should drive into oncoming traffic. That's a bad idea. When I'm talking to someone and I get the idea, this guy needs to be slapped. Bad idea. Probably should not do that. But, on the other end, when it's something that's good and noble and right and would help someone else, like saying to them, hey, you're someone I haven't met before, good to meet you. Just something as simple as that, I need to do it. I need to do it immediately. So this past weekend at church, having returned from the leadership retreat, I told my wife about this, and she goes, really? That's all? That's all for most people, but for me it's a big deal. After church, I stood up and I introduced myself to the person beside me. Really doesn't seem like a big deal. I know that in my experience it doesn't seem like a big deal, but I couldn't get myself to do it. I couldn't just be friendly. I couldn't walk up to a stranger and say, how's it going? I couldn't say, excuse me, got a cold here. I couldn't say, hey, I haven't met you. My name's Paul. I just couldn't do it. But by having a ready yes, by deciding if there's nothing wrong with it, I should just do it, and saying a prayer the entire time for something to come up if I'm not supposed to do it, but defaulting to yes, it just made it easier. I didn't have time to say, oh, they don't want to talk to me. Oh, I bet they have something else to do. You know, all those excuses that I had in my mind. And I know that this is true about me, because I've got a friend, and he was, several years ago, going to this same event, this leadership retreat, because we have it every year. And he was feeling lonely, and he was feeling isolated, and he was thinking about going home. And I introduced myself. I guess this was before I had this situation with this woman. But I introduced myself, and it changed his life. Literally, it changed his life. He's now in leadership in our church, and he was about to go home. He was about to go home and never come back. So my friendliness changed his life, and it impacted all the people that he would touch, because he has a ministry that he's engaged with people that are struggling in a certain area, and he wouldn't have had that. So all those lives wouldn't have been touched. And he's about to launch another ministry that's somewhat related, and those lives would not be touched if I hadn't just introduced myself. And I did. So, who knows? Who knows if the person that I introduced myself to this weekend doesn't go, maybe they are friendly. Or, maybe this is a good place for me. Or, when I asked him about the leadership retreat, he said, yeah, I think I might go next year. Maybe he does. And maybe that makes all the difference. You never know when you're ready yes, when you default towards yes, when you go instantaneously to do what you're supposed to do. You never know when that changes everything, when that impacts a life, when it impacts an eternity. You never know when it changes an eternity. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford, and I want you to have a ready yes. Think about what you've been hesitant to do that's right and good that you should have been doing. Think about that, and I think if you can default to yes when it's right and good, when you're 51% sure you should, I think you'll go out and change eternity.